On January 20th, 2001, in the final hours of his presidency, Bill Clinton signed a pardon. Not for a political prisoner, not for a wrongly convicted man, for a billionaire commodity trader who had been a fugitive from American justice for 17 years. A man on the FBI's most wanted list. A man who had traded oil with the enemies of the United States while Americans were held hostage in Iran. A man whose ex-wife had donated millions of dollars to the Democratic Party and to the Clinton Presidential Library just months before the pardon was signed. His name was Marc Rich. And his story is one of the most shocking examples of wealth-buying justice in modern American history. Marc Rich was born Marcel David Reich in 1934 in Antwerp, Belgium. His family was Jewish and fled Europe as the Nazi threat grew. They eventually settled in the United States. Marc Rich grew up in New York and showed an extraordinary talent for one thing from an early age: making money. He joined a commodity trading firm called Philip Brothers at the age of 18. Within years, he was one of their most profitable traders. He had an instinct for markets that bordered on supernatural. He could read the flow of oil and metals around the world the way other men read weather patterns, and he used that instinct to build something entirely new. In 1974, along with his partner Pincus Green, Marc Rich founded his own trading firm, Marc Rich and Company, based in Zug, Switzerland, far from American regulators, far from American tax authorities, and perfectly positioned to trade with anyone in the world, regardless of American law. Because here is what Marc Rich understood better than almost anyone else on earth. Oil was not just a commodity. Oil was power, and power had no nationality. In 1979, the Iranian Revolution overthrew the American-backed Shah of Iran. American diplomats were taken hostage. The United States imposed strict sanctions on Iran. No American company was permitted to trade with the Iranian government. Marc Rich ignored the sanctions completely, while 52 American citizens sat in captivity in Tehran. Marc Rich was quietly buying Iranian oil and selling it at enormous profit. He did not just bend the rules. He built an entire business model on breaking them. He traded with apartheid South Africa when American sanctions prohibited it. He traded with Cuba, with the Soviet Union, with Libya, with other nations under American embargo, wherever American law said no. Marc Rich found a way to say yes, and he made billions doing it. In 1983, federal prosecutors in New York built a case against him. 51 counts of tax evasion, trading with the enemy, racketeering. The potential sentence was over 300 years in prison. Marc Rich did not wait to find out. The day before he was to be indicted, he fled to Switzerland, taking his billions with him. He never returned. For 17 years, Marc Rich lived in his villa in Zug, Switzerland, wealthy beyond imagination, untouchable. The FBI placed him on their most wanted list. Interpol issued notices. American prosecutors tried repeatedly to have him extradited. Switzerland refused every request. Their banking secrecy laws and their commercial relationship with Marc Rich's firm made him effectively untouchable. He continued trading, He continued making money. He continued living in extraordinary luxury while the American justice system watched from across the ocean, unable to act. His trading firm, eventually renamed Glencore, became one of the largest commodity trading companies in the world. Today, Glencore is worth tens of billions of dollars, built in significant part on the foundation Marc Rich established, a foundation that included systematic violations of American law. Meanwhile, in America, Marc Rich had a powerful weapon he was not afraid to use: his ex-wife. Denise Rich was a wealthy socialite and Democratic Party donor. After their divorce, she remained close to the political world, and beginning in the late 1990s, she began making extraordinary financial contributions. She donated $450,000 to the Clinton Presidential Library Fund. She donated $1 million to Democratic Party causes. She donated over $100,000 to Hillary Clinton's Senate campaign. And she personally lobbied President Clinton for her ex-husband's pardon, directly. In letters, in phone calls, in person. She was not alone. Israeli Prime Minister Ehud Barak called President Clinton on Marc Rich's behalf. The Mossad, Israel's intelligence service, lobbied for the pardon. Marc Rich had made significant donations to Israeli causes over the years. He had cultivated political connections across the world, and in the final hours of the Clinton presidency, all of those connections were called in simultaneously. On January 20th, 2001, at approximately 4 a.m., with hours remaining in his presidency, Bill Clinton signed the pardon for Marc Rich and for his business partner, Pincus Green. The reaction was immediate and explosive. Even within the Democratic Party, the outrage was profound. Former President Jimmy Carter called it disgraceful. FBI Director Louis Freeh was furious. The prosecutors, who had spent years building the case against Marc Rich, called it a corrupt act. Congress launched investigations. Clinton's own Justice Department had not been consulted. The pardon had been arranged entirely through private channels, through money and connections and the quiet work of powerful people operating in the shadows. Marc Rich himself was never grateful. He gave an interview years later in which he expressed little remorse. He believed he had done nothing truly wrong. He believed the charges against him were politically motivated. He believed the laws he had broken were unjust. He had the luxury of those beliefs because he had the money to make them reality. The pardon meant he could theoretically return to the United States. He never did. He remained in Switzerland until his death in 2013. Still wealthy, still powerful, still surrounded by the network of relationships that had protected him for decades. Here is what the Marc Rich story reveals about the world we live in. Justice in the financial world is not blind. It has a price. The men who designed the American sanctions on Iran, the diplomats, the politicians, the military advisors, they built those rules to protect American interests and American lives. Marc Rich looked at those rules and saw a profit opportunity. The 52 Americans held hostage in Tehran. Their suffering was the backdrop against which Marc Rich made his oil trades. He knew He didn't care. And when the justice system finally caught up with him, he bought his way out. Not through the courts, not through a legal argument, through 17 years of patience and the strategic deployment of extraordinary wealth, through political donations made at exactly the right moment to exactly the right people, through the cultivation of relationships in multiple countries over multiple decades. The pardon of Marc is one of the clearest examples in modern history of what money can actually buy. Not just luxury, not just comfort, freedom from justice itself. And the system that allowed it, the offshore trading networks, the banking secrecy laws, the political donation culture, the international relationships that put powerful men above the reach of the law, that system is not only intact. It has grown larger, more sophisticated, more global, more difficult to challenge. Marc died in his bed in 2013, surrounded by wealth, protected until the end. The 52 Americans held hostage in Iran in 1979 and 1980. Many of them are still alive. Some of them know his name. None of them received a pardon from anything. Subscribe to Luxury Vision Official right now. Because the stories we tell on this channel are not just history. They are a map of the world you are living in right now. At Luxury Vision Official, we go where the mainstream financial press refuses to go. Hit the notification bell. Because the truth about who really controls the global economy is something they hope you never find out. Before you leave, if this story made you feel something, anger, shock, or simply the need to know more, you are not alone. Every week, at Luxury Vision Official, we go deeper into the stories that the financial world hopes you will never find. The men behind the crashes, the fortunes built on lies, the systems designed to protect the powerful and destroy everyone else. Luxury Vision Official exists for one reason: to show you what's really happening behind the glass towers and the tailored suits. Subscribe to Luxury Vision Official right now. Hit the notification bell, because the next story is even darker than this one.